Well, hello, everybody. Margot Levette back with another episode. Her business, her voice, her conversation. Well, I always start out with this is going to be a great show, but I tell you, this is going to be a great show. Have you ever thought about using your left brain and your right brain, and you're able to let both of them dance together and coexist and create a beautiful life? Today's guest, Sieglinde Van Damme, is an economist and she is an artist. And I say beautiful pieces with left brain, right brain, and the way she lives her life, what she's offering to the world is just mind blowing. So, Sieglinde, thank you for being here with us today. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much for having me, Margot.
Oh,
Yes, that left brain, right brain dance does create for interesting stories.
well, I tell you what. First of all, I detect something there in your voice. So let's start out. Let everybody know who you are. And I know that that's an open, loaded question, but I want people to hear from in your own voice because this lady is. Benny Randall called me the queen of reinvention, but I think I'm gonna have to pass the torch to this lady. I think she's the queen of reinvention. So, Sieglinde, give us some insight.
Yeah, so the accent that you detect in my voice is because I'm a European import into the US. I moved here from Belgium 22 years ago. Yes, almost 23. And I credit this move to the whole reinvention dynamic in my life because when I first moved here, I had a master's in economics. I was a newlywed, perhaps a little bit of an insecure young 20-year-old or something, 20-something-year-old, right? Oh my God, now I'm dating myself. Take that back. But I thought I knew where I stood in life. And then I came here and life was different. And I had this opportunity to either choose to hold on to my background and try to live my European life in the US, or I could embrace the freedom of doing things entirely different and seeing what else was possible here for me. I could reinvent myself. And that's how my journey started. That's how within 3 months of moving here, I was in my first art drawing class. I went on to get the art certificate. I ended up getting a master in fine arts with 2 little kids in tow. And from there, I've exhibited in the US, in Europe, in Russia, in Japan. I won awards. And wow, if I look back at this insecure newlywed with this conservative master in economics degree to who I am now, it's like, how did that even happen?
Amazing, utterly amazing. It was like a breath of fresh air happened once you landed here in the States and you became aware of all of these opportunities. Now, take us back to Europe. In Europe, your life was pretty much set. Was it pretty much set from birth that you would become an economist and you would walk this straight line? Take us there.
Actually, I think it's a little typical in Europe that once your ball rolls in a certain way, that's how it rolls. Europe is a little bit more conservative that way, which is actually one of the things I love about the US. Like reinventing yourself
Yes.
is very accepted here, almost encouraged. And so I did grow up in a university town, a college town, Leuven. My alma mater in Belgium is affiliated with UC Berkeley, Stanford, MIT, like the top level. And so it was very much decided from very early on that, I would go to a good school and a good high school and, like as much as high as possible as I could, and then go to college, right? So I had the highest math that I could get in high school, as well as ancient Greek, believe it or
Wow.
not.
I love
I
Greece.
studied ancient Greek for 5 years. And so then I landed in college and, economics was a very broad subject matter. And then, but also I have to say, I used to date somebody when I was younger back in Belgium, and he said this one thing to me that really set me up for the rest of my life. He said to me, Sieglinde, in life, you always have to move forward. If you come at a standstill or you go backwards, then you gotta like grab it and shift it. And he really made this 90-degree move.
Yes.
And so he forgot that he ever said that to me, but it so stuck with me that it became this guiding thread through my life, both in Belgium, because I did wiggle around a little bit before I settled on the master's in economics, and then definitely when I moved to the US, and I still do it.
Do you find that you express the reinvention, the freedom of thought, the freedom of spirit in your art?
Absolutely. I didn't notice it until 10 years later that what I was doing in my art was actually exactly what was taking place in my life. You know, sometimes the dots only connect in reverse. And when I started more noticing the path I was taking and the way I was thinking, especially when somebody pointed out to me, oh, Sieglinde, what I love about working with you is that you can think outside the box while keeping one foot in reality, so that whatever grand idea you come up with, it's actually possible to execute on it. And I was like, oh my God, you know, that's not just working with me. That's how I live my life. That's how I create my art.
Yes.
So, you know, it's like when I learn a new technique, I will always get all the boundaries of a technique. I wanna know all the details, and I wanna be able to perfectly execute it. And then when I know it, I think, okay, what else can I do with this? How can I push the box a little bit? You know, like, oh, when I did my master in fine arts, I would do things that people told me, you can't do that. That's not possible technically. And then I thought, watch me. Like, just because you told me I can't do that, I will go and try it to make sure I really can't do that. And then of course I could do it. Not always without some bruises along the way.
That's life.
But yeah, so my artwork is a lot about layers and layers and layers and layers, because in the end, you know, reality is never just what is, right? So there's always these layers underneath. And by creating these layers, I create these different stories that come to the surface, and I control it. And I will use a lot of white that veils things out that either we purposely are ignoring, or that we don't, or that, you know, that we should pay attention to, because it may be another choice that we haven't seen yet. Because I believe in life, we always have way more choices than we think we have, right? And so this is kind of how unconsciously a lot of that goes in my artwork, you know, like layers, veiled, a hint, not in my paintings, but in my photography, there will be like, you think it's real, but then there's something you can't quite put your finger on. It may look very painterly, or it's two images on top of each other. I work a lot on film and with alternative cameras. The one thing you will never see me do, if I use photography, is take a razor sharp picture with the latest digital camera and have a true to reality scene, because then everything's boxed up. There's no room for imagination.
Oh, wow.
So in my pieces, there's always something like, I can't quite put my finger on it. What's going on here? And then in my abstract paintings, there's a lot of white and monochromatic, and then subtle colors showing through, as if there is a hidden story underneath that hasn't been told yet, or that has to be uncovered. And I feel we all have these hidden stories, or situations have these hidden stories. Like, how can they come out? That was a long answer.
No, you see, I'm moving closer to the camera. That is so true. Reinventing yourself is a process. There are layers, and some things come out, some things are veiled. Oh my goodness, okay, so you are an economist, you are an artist, a photographer, but you also are a champion for men and women to gain clarity, to have
Absolutely.
more insight into themselves. Take us on a journey. Well, how did that part of you come alive as you said, I'm going to become an artist. I'm going to do this. Because it seems that you have so many balls up in the air, but when I look at it again, you really don't. It's all about reinventing yourself and being free to have that clarity and give yourself the liberty to do so. Am I reading this correctly?
Yes, I haven't really thought about it that way, but yes, clarity is key in reinventing yourself, first of all. And a lot of the left brain, right brain dance, as you called it earlier, creates for a lot of confusing, chaotic situations. And so it became necessary to like have these two parts collaborate instead of
Uh-huh.
fight each other.
I
And I
can
think
imagine.
that's where a lot of the clarity, necessity for clarity comes in. And then I've swam through a few storms in my life where I had to take a step back and say, okay, whoo, because reinvention is not always like a nice line up, right? It goes like this. And sometimes we just got to take a time out. And then um, yes, if you can be super clear on, and this is such a cliche to say, right? But can you be super clear on what you want? And sometimes it's not the end goal, but the next step.
Okay.
And when we go there, right, things become easier to reinvent yourself. And yes, when you walk through a few chaotic situations in your life and you see other people going through something similar, you just want to help them. It's like, oh my God, like I know how to help you. I can, like, here, like, look at it this way or look at it that way. And like, or here's the next step. Don't get bogged down. Don't sit on the couch
Yes.
feeling sorry for yourself. You
Oh
can
my.
go forward. And so I just like to see smiles on people's faces.
And especially when you've walked a mile in their shoes, it's almost
Yeah.
as though we have an obligation to reach out to people. I am going to do something that I don't normally do during this show, but Sieglinde's art is so amazing. And the way she has it on her website is, I have to take you there. She's given me permission to do so. But before I share screen and we go over there, she has a giveaway for you. Speaking about clarity, it's, this is a free offer that she's giving us. Downloadable bonus. It's a strategy breakthrough to clarity. And this is not a little 1 page, 2 page, 3 page. This is a PDF workbook. If you're serious about becoming clear, I think she says creative idea, who can you be? And creative idea, what's next for success. And these days, Sieglinde, I think that we all are there one time or another. We've been there or we're going there. And it's good to know that we have resources from someone, and this is my cliche, who's been there, done that. You've done the work, so you're helping others.
Yes, and this strategy in this free PDF, it's really my secret weapon. It is so simple and yet so strong. And a lot of things that I have accomplished in my life is just because I took a moment to sit down and work through these steps. And it really is about what's next.
Mhm.
What's next? And it's an everyday thing. But you know what? 1% improvement every day is like compound interest. It's a lot of improvement in a month or in a year.
Yeah, yeah. Improvement and steps made that never would have been made had they not gotten a hold of your strategy. I love that. I take my hat off to you because reinvention, you prove all the more. Reinvention calls for transparency, being
Mm-hmm.
quiet, and doing the inside work. And one more question before we go to your work. Do you think that the movers, the shakers, the people that do the biggest work of impacting others in this lifetime, they are the ones that take time to become clear and to be true. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest movers and shakers become that way because they were faced with a particular problem in their lives, and then they figured out a solution on how to move forward, and then they share that with the world. Because for some reason it's almost like your duty. It's not just about you, it's your duty to share that. And yes, you know, before you can solve a problem, you got to make sure you really know what the problem is. And not only that, what I see a lot of times is like people have this problem that they want to solve and they get stuck and they're running around in circles. But then if you dig deeper, you know, back to that clarity thing, that's actually not the root problem. The root problem could be something over here, right? And sometimes it's like, oh my God, we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yes.
Let's focus on this other thing that sometimes is very easy to solve once you become clear about it. And then that other problem that got you thrown for a loop resolves itself automatically.
Because you got to the root of it.
Yes, but sometimes it's like a process, right? It's like digging deeper, and it involves some journaling and really like aiming for that clarity, because they may not always be related, if that makes sense.
It does.
I mean, that would be a whole other conversation.
Left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
What can I say? Not an easy solution.
Well, I can say a quick thing. For instance, I once worked with a person who was very unhappy in his job and wanted to quit his job, right? And he didn't know how, and it was too much risk, and he was really like bugged down and unhappy, borderline depressed. But then when we dug deeper, the job wasn't the problem. The problem was that he didn't feel part of his own family anymore, and he was afraid of losing them. Do you see my point? Like, these seem to be not related, and yet once he saw that reconnecting with his family and have a role in his family and feeling safe, that his wife wasn't going to walk out on him, or they were just spending his money, once he realized that that's where his focus needed to be, the job was okay. And now imagine if he had quit this job, went on the career, changed, you know, like a re-educating career track record, right? He would have just gone to a new job and faced the same situation within 1 or 2 years, right?
Yes,
just because he didn't realize what he actually should focus on. So that's what I mean with like this whole clarity, and this left brain, right brain thought process can be so powerful in to tell you the truth, to make life a little easier.
Wow. The illustration that you gave, it reminds me of so many people. So many people. We go from marriage to marriage, boyfriend to boyfriend, house to house, job to job, and we never get to the root of the problem. But that, I hear you. That is another subject. So in the meantime, I am going to attempt to share my screen, and let us get to, here we go. Here we go. Oh my, ladies and gentlemen, in the show notes, I will make sure that you have access to her website, because look at this water dance. Oh my goodness. I guess right from the very beginning, Sieglinde, do you have a favorite over here? I'm just going to scroll because I'm looking at the time. I'm just going to scroll and let people look.
They are all my
Breathtaking.
favorites because they transform rooms. They uplift the energy in a room. They open your mind to other possibilities. They inspire. They are all created with that intention.
Yes.
To just see what else is possible. And in the end, you know, one of my collectors once told me, I only have one rule for art in my home. And he said, when I look at it, it needs to make me happy. Yes. And I love that, that thought. So if my artwork goes in your home, or even if you just see it on my website, and then, you know, you tell me like, oh, that made me feel so peaceful, or that made me happy, or that really moved me, or that really inspired me, well, then that makes me happy.
Wow. I just had to share it. I had to share what this lady is all about, and the peace and the grace and the strength that can come from just having a look at her work. I'm going to stop the share right now. Thank you for taking us there. Thank you so
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Thank you for the opportunity for us to gain clarity. I appreciate your PDF, the creative idea. Who can I be? Creative idea. What's next for success? I'm having a delightful conversation with a left brain, right brain. I like saying that. Economist, but passionate, visionary artist, Sieglinde Van Damme. This has been an amazing opportunity. This lady knows all about reinvention too. And you see that I think you're a bit of a daredevil, you know?
I used to be really afraid of taking risks, but I'm working through it.
I'd say you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
You are opening us up. The way your art opened up the room and the energy in those spaces, that's how you do. Real quick, I just want to tell people how I even have an opportunity to find you, to have a conversation. This lady is so magnetic. I was scrolling through, ran across a conversation that she was having with another podcaster, and it literally stopped me. I had to just stop and I had go back and listen through and through. So if you need help, you're stuck with this thing of clarity, your rooms are shouting, I need something good in my surroundings, then Sieglinde can give you clarity. She can bring life and art and energy to your rooms, and you don't have to go any further. You have everything in one package. Everything in one package in this dear lady. So shall we send everybody to your website, or do you have other places where you want people to get in contact with you?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is sieglindevandamme.com, or if you really want to know more about my art on a daily basis, almost, Instagram, which would be Studio Sieg, STUDIOSIEG, same on Facebook. And then I do have a VIP newsletter where I share my artwork and what you can do to create this positive energy flow and this good feeling in your own home with art, maybe with the art you already have, or when you're exploring new art. So on my website, you can sign up for this VIP newsletter, which I take very personally. It's one of my favorite things to write. And then if people want to do more of a left brain, right brain brainstorming with me, there's also information on my website about that, where I could help you get to clarity and support you in your reinvention story. And we can be daredevils together.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. All right. I will have all of this information in the show notes. Wow, this time goes by so very fast. I can't believe it. Thank you. Thank you. A million thank yous for joining us for a breath of fresh air. Really and truly, I would imagine there are a lot of people have art in their homes and they don't even know what to do with it. So here we are. Wow, what a fantastic, fantastic show. As I always tell you, every week we have a wonderful show, and this one did not disappoint. So I want you to be sure to wash your hands, to you cover your face, use your face covering, and be sure to come back next week, because I'm going to have another wonderful show. It's going to be hard to top this one. This is one of my favorites. I just put that out there. But I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Her business, her voice, her conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Margot.
You're welcome.